Now, this particular camera.
This is actually the launch of the LSF Space Ship from Earth, basically. It after it crashed, after we landed the LSF spaceship, it became the LSFA spaceship. So plus adding some things and some other stuff, some other updates, the LSF spaceship became the LSFA, which is what you're actually seeing launching right now, and is very large. Like I think 1,200 feet wide or something like that. I keep messing up on how big it was because we kept changing the size of it. The LSF spaceship would have been included with some larger rocket engines underneath and some other modifications. But basically, this is the LSF spaceship launching. We just added the A to designate that it is being relaunched into space, and basically designating a spot that it landed on at some point in time. Crash landed probably. So LSF. So I would say LSF up there and then A. Basically, there should be another shot of the actual words on the side of it, but basically LSF A. Anyway, and that pit is about 1,200 feet across or something like that. I forget how big it was, but it's big. A person wouldn't even come up to a small little thing. The building in the back, these are basically 80 stories tall or something like that, or 100 stories. Maybe they're 100 stories tall. I forget. You can look up the dimensions of this, but basically the space shuttle uses this right now to launch from. So this is the size of the space shuttle, and that's the size of that. So anyway, because they basically just put the space shuttle underneath it, and pretty much there you go. So you can imagine how big those engines are, like 80 feet or something across. They're huge. And this is the launch of basically the LSFA. Anyway, yeah. So you can look it up. It's a historic, basically a colony ship that came to Earth pretty much and landed, and then was refit and then launched. Basically, the legendary the legendary LSF colony ship with the legendary LSF 71 Blackbird aircraft. It was made out of titanium, made out of depleted uranium, and those wings are about the same size as the total length of the 747 wings or something like that. They're huge. They're like 200 feet across or 80 feet across. They might be 80 or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, all the dimensions. It's basically a really big ship. I forget if they're the total length each of the wingspan of a 747, or if they're just like one half of the wing. Like you break off 747 wings and then just put them on the side. Anyway, they're big. They're really big. I think they might be each 200 feet long, or 120. I think they're 120, 120, or something like that. I forget what the dimensions were, but this thing is huge, really huge. It's the biggest spaceship or colony ship that's ever launched from Earth. And was refueled in orbit before it went off to Mars. Yeah, I guess those are basically like 100 stories tall or something like that. Skyscrapers. It took 240 years to build. Anyway, I had a paint company, White Star Paint, and I wanted them painted white before the launch. So I wanted everything to be all nice and white, even though I was going to burn off the paint. So anyway, so we had it all nice and painted white for the launch, because it was a historic colony ship launch. There's photographs of all this stuff, so it gives you the sizes of the LSFA Space Ship colony ship. Anyway, like I said, the LSF 71 Blackbird ships, which are also made out of depleted uranium, basically go inside of that ship pretty much when it's in space. So they would be flying up to meet it. Basically, it launches by itself, and then they fly up and land, and then refuel and everything else like that. So anyway, very much a colony ship, and is very much legendary and lost. And this is the film I paid for to have it watched as it launches. Like I said before, they killed everybody at mission control, at launch control here, right after this, right after the ship went to orbit. They started attacking it. They actually say that there was a squadron of aircraft that was actually trying to shoot it down. But I don't know about all the history of this. But it happened somewhere before World War One, a long time ago. Anyway, so that hole is like 1,200 feet across or 2,000 feet across. I don't know. There's dimensions for all this somewhere in the plans. Probably labeled top secret and national security or something. But just to set the record straight of what that was. It was a big, big, big ship. Thousands of feet tall. The closest they could get to was with the skylift was basically just above the fuel tanks, so the people could get on board. Had a hangar and everything for the LSF 71 landing craft that also went with it. All made out of depleted uranium and titanium. The biggest ship humanity possibly has ever built. Or one of them. It's legendary and probably billions of years old. Responsible for colonizing at least 120 or 36 humanoid planets throughout the galaxy. Anyway, just setting the record straight on what it was. You can look it up in the Pentagon or National Archives of the. Just look for LSF Space Ship or LSFA Space Ship. You'll find it under one of those designations. It's also known. Well, they try and say it's a Saturn V rocket, but it's not. That was the USFA spaceship, and had nothing to do with this. This thing took 280 years to build.